Greeting everyone. DFG here, Gideon's Flight. Hey guys, I just want to take a moment and I wanted to share a story about resilience with you this morning. And I think it's a wonderful story. It's a true story. But before I share this story, I want to share this with you real fast. See if I can do this without dropping it. See that? All right, that's Wahweh. Yahweh. Okay. A couple of days ago, I spelled that Wahway. Wrong way. Right way. Wahweh. Very important. Okay. Yahweh. All right. That being said, and that out of the way, let's get to the story at hand. So that this older woman who lives in this country that's not her own country. She had to travel away uh, for social reasons, and she found herself living in a foreign country. And while she was there with her two sons, her sons grew up. When they became men, her sons married, and unfortunately, uh, both of her sons ended up passing away. And so her daughter-in-laws came to her at that particular point in time and said, "Okay, what do we do?" Because in their culture, the men were the primary providers inside of those cultures, and they were really the foundation for the family. And so, where there were no sons, then there was no infrastructure in this particular culture that would be supportive of unmarried women. They would almost be in a situation where they would need charity to survive. So the older woman decides that, well, all is lost, and she talked to her daughter-in-laws, and they came to her and said, what should we do? And she said, well, there's nothing I can do. I'm too old to produce any more sons. So, all I can do is go back home. And so the two daughter-in-laws, decided what they would want to do. One daughter-in-law just decided, okay, well, I'll go find my way somewhere else. The other daughter-in-law said, you know what? You're my mother-in-law. I trust you. You've been someone who stood with me for all the time I've known you, all the time that your son was with me. You've always, been my encourager. You've always been my supporter. And I'm not going to turn my back on you now in a crisis, no matter what the crisis is. And so the the mother-in-law told the daughter-in-law, okay, well, I'm going back home. So, if you want to come back, you can come back with me. But understand, I have nothing there either. But at least it is my home. It is the place that I'm familiar with. And I know that the people there in my home are people who have a culture that will support, those who don't have anything. More or less, those who are, poor. And the daughter-in-law said, well, it doesn't matter. I'm saying? Wherever you go, I'm going to go with you. Whatever you believe, I'm going to believe with you. And, even to the point that I'm going to have faith in the same creator, Yahweh, that you have faith in. And so they left and they went back to her country. And when they arrived in their country, the mother-in-law came upon this mass farm. And in this farm, they were growing all kind of agriculture. And it was as a custom in their particular country, the owner of the farm, once his laborers finished, they're harvesting anything that was left. And there was always something left because a part of their culture was you take everything that you can carry, but what you can't carry, you leave for the poor. And then the poor would glean on that, okay? And some people would even say that's similar to the welfare system that was set up here in the United States. I wouldn't argue that. There is, a reason to take care of people who can't take care of themselves. Now, again, to take care of people who can't take care of themselves. We call it welfare, but at the end of the day, it truly is charity. It's having a charitable heart, a caring heart, and understanding that, the poor, the needy, they're always going to be with you. They're always going to be with us. And we shouldn't frown upon them. We should not shun them. It's not the way of Yahweh. We should always have compassion for the poor and understanding that, sometimes people are in a situation for reasons we have no idea about. And anytime we take a step and start judging those people based off of our own successes, our own prosperity, then it becomes prideful for us. It becomes, arrogant for us, and it causes us to have, a lack of a compassionate heart. And nothing good comes from when you lack compassion. Trust me when I tell you that. So back to the story at hand. So anyway, when they're finishing, after the laborers finish on this farm picking everything, the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law, they go around the edges and they start picking up enough of what's left so that they can survive. And in the process of picking up, the mother-in-law happens to notice that the owner of the land took notice of them out there. And she was like, well, this guy's kind of looking at us, giving us a little bit more attention than, he should be giving us. And I don't think he's looking at me because I'm old enough to be his mom. I think he's looking at you. And the daughter-in-law said, well, why would he be looking at me? I don't have anything. I'm just as poor and destitute as you are. But I said, no. The mother-in-law said, no, look, listen to me. Tonight, when the work is done, I want you to go, and just go visit, say hello to him, and then see what happens. And the daughter-in-law, not too sure, but, as they say, a wise person surrounds himself with wise counsel. And this young lady, the daughter-in-law, felt like the mother-in-law had led her with wisdom to this particular point in her life. So she said, well, what do I have to lose? If I, it's old saying, if you don't go to the dance, you have no chance of, being asked to dance, right? So the daughter-in-law takes heed, goes out. Later on that evening, she goes visit, puts herself in a position where the owner of the land can at least see her. And when the owner takes notice of her later on that evening, he introduces himself, and ultimately these two individuals get to know each other better, and she ends up marrying, the owner, because at the end of the day, he did like her, but she had to take some initiative. She had to sort of, as you say, make the first move, and so in doing so, her life was changed. The mother-in-law's life was changed. And there's a story behind this story that goes all the way back, makes its way all the way down to Yeshua, believe it or not. So there you go. Here, it's another Bible story, but it's a true story. And if you want to read more about this story, you can find that in the book of Ruth, okay? But the long and the short of the story is that if you want to succeed, you have to be willing sometimes to go the extra mile. You have to be willing not to give up regardless of the circumstances. And where there's a chance, there's hope. And as you've heard me say before, and it's just quoting a particular, statement of knowledge that, a living dog is better than a dead lion, okay? And, what I'm saying is, in other words, as long as you have life, you have hope. As long as you have today, then you can believe that you will still have tomorrow, okay? And so in essence, it's about resilience, about not giving up. And as with Ruth and her daughter-in-law, Naomi, all right, the same thing can happen to you. Because remember, the other daughter-in-law just gave up. She quit. Things went bad. She was like, well, you know what? I'm not going to follow this woman. I followed her this far and things didn't work out, so I give up. And that happens to many, many people when what they call bad luck or bad things happening to them, and they just throw in the towel. And I would say to you that throwing in the towel, is I guess there's always a time for anything, but that should be your last option. Fight for what you believe, you want. Ask Yahweh for what you need. I was going to show you this again because I'm sure if I'll forget about it. It's Yahweh, all right? But continue to be resilient. Believe, just like Naomi did. Naomi said, you know what? I'm going to surround myself with wise counsel. I'm going to take that counsel. I'm going to be willing to take a little because at one day I'll be able to have a lot. I think everybody's familiar with the statement that, a wave starts from one little, little drop. One little trickle of water ultimately becomes, a tidal wave. And that's the way you have to look at, hope. That's the way you should look at, opportunity, for yourself. Because again, we all have the opportunity to be the things that we choose to be. Sometimes we just don't know what that is. And that's why, for me, prayer. That's why, for me, faith, a mindset that, no weapon formed against me will prosper. You follow me? Because I know that at the end of the day, if I stay steadfast, if I stay determined, I stay prayerful, I find ways to share, find ways to give. And the other thing too, inside of this story, I want you to remember, Boaz is the name of the owner, and Boaz was not selfish. He was a very prosperous man, but he was not a selfish man. And not only was he not a selfish man, Boaz was wise also, because through Boaz and Naomi, Ruth, came, King David, and ultimately, again, Yeshua, because he also had eyes to see too. And he wasn't walking around so arrogant that he felt that everybody was beneath him, all right? And so it opened up a door for him to be blessed, in his seed and his children's children to be blessed. But I digress. So ultimately, the story is this. Don't give up. Stay persistent. Remember, in order to have a lot, you have to be willing to take a little. Okay? Never despise the day of small beginnings. Okay? Never despise the day of small beginnings. Because it's in those small beginnings that all the things that you know of today that are great, that's how they began. Everything starts from something tiny, small, like the little apple seed we talked about. Remember? Okay? So with that being said, I want to tell you guys, thank you for listening. I hope it inspires you to be resilient. I hope it inspires you to not be afraid to start, at the bottom if you have to. And because starting at the bottom don't mean you're going to stay there. Starting at the bottom just simply means you just took the first step to your future, the first step to your success. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one footstep. We've all heard that Chinese proverb before, but most of us have. So don't be afraid to start. The thing is, start. Whatever your vision is, whatever your dream is, whatever your hope is, if you have the determination to make it regardless of the circumstances, and you trust in the Creator, then you have all reason to be hopeful. You have all reason not to give up. And I would tell you that ultimately you'll get to the top. And everybody at the top will see you at the top. All right. So with that said, as I told you yesterday, I got to give you my little proud, statement that I just learned. For I know the plans that I have for you, says Yahweh. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a great future. All right? Remember that. All right. Peace. Men of Gideon Flight. Love you, brothers. For you who are listening, audience, hope this inspires you. More importantly, I hope you let it resonate, let it become a seed inside of your heart. Okay. Thanks again. And again, sorry for misspelling Yahweh. All right? Wahweh. That's the Creator's name. Bye now.